In this lesson, we're going to install GoRouter as a dependency and start using it in our app. And at this stage, I recommend that you open up gorouter.dev on your browser and keep it on the side so that you can use it as a reference as you make changes to your own code. And in case you need this again, I've also included the starter project in the resources for this lesson. And this is exactly the same as the one we have used in the previous section. Okay, so we can get back to VS Code, and here we can open the pubspec.yaml file. And the first thing that we should do is to add GoRouter as a dependency. So to do that, we can open the command palette, and then we can type dart add dependency and select this option. And in here we can type GoRouter and press enter. And this will add it for us. And as you may have noticed, I've just installed GoRouter version 5.0.1, which is the current version at the time I record this lesson. And all the upcoming lessons will be based on this version. And to make absolutely sure of this, I'm going to remove this caret from here. And this will tell pub that I want exactly this version. And I recommend that you do the same as well and install version 5.0.1. And if there are any breaking changes in the future, I will let you know and update the code as needed. Okay, so as a next step, we can open the app.dart file. And what we want to do now is to use the new material app.router API. And we need to do this to opt in to use the new Flutter routing APIs, which are known as Navigator 2.0, because GoRouter is built on top of Navigator 2.0 and needs this. But as we can see, we now get an error telling us that the home parameter is no longer defined. And this is because the entire routing logic should be handled by a new argument called router config, which we are going to set shortly. So for now, let me set this value to null, like this. And we can also remove the home argument that we are no longer going to use, like this. And if we hover over the router config argument, we can reveal the documentation and learn that this is an object that is used to configure the underlying router. And the important thing to understand is that in order to get this code working, we had two options. The first one is to implement the router config class ourselves, which basically means implementing all the Flutter navigation code by using the routing APIs. And as we have said, this is a whole world of pain. And the alternative is to use GoRouter instead. So let's do that. And the first thing that we need to do at the top of the build method is to declare a final GoRouter object equal to GoRouter, like this. And in order to use this, we need to import gorouter.dart. And this takes a list of routes which represent all the possible pages that we want to show in our app. So inside here, we can add a GoRoute object and give it a path argument, which in this case should be a /, which by convention represents the route path. And we should also provide a builder argument that we will use to return a widget class for this path. And this is a function that gives us a context along with a state object, and we can use this to return our product list screen widget. And of course, if we want to use this, we need to import it, like this. And if you remember, this is the same widget that we used to pass to the home of the material app. And now that we have this GoRouter object, we can update this line and pass it as an argument to the router config, just like this. So at this stage, we can select Chrome as a build target, and then we can run our app. This may take a little while, and once the build is complete, we should see the app running on Google Chrome over here. And as we can see, we can still navigate to any of the remaining pages. And this is possible because we can move from Navigator 1.0 to GoRouter incrementally, one route at a time. And this is great, especially if you have a complex app and you don't want to migrate all the routing code in one go. And all we need to get started is to create a GoRouter object with at least one route inside it, and pass it to the router config argument of the material app. And of course, we are just getting started, and in the coming lessons, we'll convert this entire app to use GoRouter and explore some of its capabilities in more detail. For now, there is one thing that I want to change right away, and that is to remove this hash at the end of the URL, which is added by default when you run a Flutter app on web. And if we want to change this behavior, we need to customize the URL path strategy. And the GoRouter website has a page explaining how to do that. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see that this is just a single one-liner that we need to add to our main Dart file. So what we're going to do is to copy this code, and then we can get back to our project and open the main.dart file. And then we can paste it over here, right before our call to run app. And we can use the quick fix shortcut to import the GoRouter library, like this. And now we can hot restart. And once the hot restart has completed, we can see that the URL no longer has a hash in the end. Okay, so this is great progress. And before we move forward, there are a couple of small changes that I want to make to our Go Router setup. So let's get back to our main app widget over here. And the first change that I want to make is to add an initial location argument, which is something that we can use to tell Go Router what location to use when the app is first started. So in this case, we can just use a forward slash because we always want to start from here. But just be aware that this is something that you can configure if you want. And the other change that I want to make is to enable debugging inside Go Router. And we can do that by adding a debug log diagnostics argument and set it to true. And what happens when we enable this is that all navigation events will be logged to the debug console. And there is a page on the Go Router documentation that explains how this all works. So if we want to see how this looks like, we can open the debug console and then we can save and maybe even hot restart the application. And as you can see, as soon as the application starts, we get this console log that tells us about the routes that are available. And at the moment, we only have one, of course. But this list will grow over time as we add more routes in the next few lessons. So we'll keep an eye on this as we make progress. Okay, so let's continue on the next lesson.